Okay, hi everyone, this is Sky, just coming on very briefly today for an impromptu audio channeling, filming today on my smartphone. I wanted to come by really quickly and remind you all that the final season finale of this current live premiere season will be happening this Friday, December 20th at 6 p.m. Pacific time. We will be live premiering the 2025 year ahead forecasts for all signs. It will be a really exciting 2-hour video where I will detail the intuitive messages, transits overview, as well as sign-by-sign interpretations. If you all have not yet been able to attend any of the live premieres this season, I hope you will come to this one if you get a chance, as it is the final live premiere, and I'm not sure when we will be doing another live premiere season, as 2025 I think is going to be a major shifting year for the way that social media works and the way that YouTube is functioning as well. So it's going to be a very nice and sentimental period of time this Friday in the live premiere, and I invite you over. I will also be doing a giveaway of free Patreon subscriptions, free 3-month subscriptions, so you might get a chance also to win in that giveaway. And one way or another, there are still free 7-day trials available on Patreon, which I'm going to link below as well. But I wanted to come on today, everyone, and talk a little bit about adaptability and flexibility as we're transitioning into the 2025 year cycle. You might want to refer back to this video during 2025, as a lot of the challenges we're going to be getting during that year cycle are going to deal with how can I adapt to this new context? How can I take the data, the information that I'm getting, the signals that I'm getting from my body and my intuition, and adapt my path according to that? Because one of the main sources of difficulty and pain and decrease coming in right now are coming from this kind of like obstinate energy line that deals with, I had a preconceived notion about what I need my path to be, and I'm going to force that to happen. Or this used to work for me before in a previous environment. You know, a long time ago, I created this solution and it worked back then. It gave me what I needed back then. There's a lot of over application right now of something that used to work in a previous setup. And what can be happening right now is it's not necessarily something that works in this setup. So there's kind of a feeling of like almost like the temperance card in reverse, where we have one foot in and one foot out. Like we remember how things used to be. We remember what we used to need as people. We remember what used to satiate us. And now that's different. Okay, and that's changing. And one of the things that's contributing to a lot of stagnation here, or even just a generalized kind of decreasing momentum, is not getting up to speed with our own needs, and also with the way that the current environment and ambient effect or area karma is working with our output. So as we're finishing up 2024 calendar year, we've had this Jupiter-Mercury opposition, debilitated mutual reception, and it has basically disrupted a lot of the flows of energy that are upkeeping this egotism, or upkeeping this need to continue pursuing things that are kind of irrelevant to the current cycle just to have the sake of continuity, or just to have some kind of past understanding continue, even if it's not really relevant now. A lot of that is getting disrupted. A lot of that is starting to feel very hard. And there's also a sort of taking stock happening here at the same time. You know, we're getting close to the cusp of Sagittarius and Capricorn. Pluto has just come out of Capricorn for the final time. And we're going to see what we came out with, essentially. Okay, as we move through December and through January especially, there's going to be kind of like a counting up, and in some cases a cashing out, or a that's kind of like the feeling like, okay, this has done what it can do, and now we know that there's about to have to be changes. What have we come out with? And how do we kind of like reorient? Okay, again, that was one of the big words for 2024 that was coming up for me, was orientation. How do we orient our flow of life force almost as like almost as, I don't know, like a cannon or something that can, really in one sense, cancel out a lot of the negative, overbearing energy, okay, that we feel right now collectively. And on the other hand, can sort of be something that defends your own path of self-actualization. So yeah, the process of reorientation has already been in major effect ever since the Jupiter-Saturn squares started in June 2024. They're getting another layer of completion December 24th, 2024, as that's the next exact one, and then another in June of 2025. So we're going through this like 1 year major reorientation process from June 2024 to June 2025. And if you're feeling a lot of difficulty, like really stabilizing right now, or if you're feeling like it's kind of unsure, like what exactly a secure life looks like from here on out, or what is also like, is it possible to have self-actualization and security? That's a big question I feel the collective asking right now, because they might kind of feel like they're at a crossroads. Like, okay, either I get, that kind of stable story, like the house and the car and the income and all of that stuff. Or I get this very like self-actualizing story where there's more of a feeling of risk though, and I have to get into territory that feels unfamiliar or uncomfortable. And I'm seeing a lot of people kind of glitching out in the fetal position at the crossroads here. And this is something I'm going to really be working through in my content in 2025, is like how to like traverse this, where you have, a lack kind of generating from this sense of like, okay, I either get my security or I get to kind of do what feels to me to be like a different kind of soul journey or some kind of, again, self-actualized path. And the worst thing we can do is not choose, or is not to keep moving, okay? And that's a lot of the reason why some of this stagnation is here, which is now why, whatever securities we have, sort of keeping us from continuing on the main story, or keeping us in a sideshow. I've talked a lot about that recently. Sideshow experiences, to be safety or to get safety, where the side hustle becomes the main hustle, or where something that's like grinding or a side attraction becomes too focused or too overdone. That's something that also I feel is not going to continue, okay, past June of 2025. Like the main story is here. And a lot of people here in December of 2024 are kind of like having to adapt their lives to get back onto the main path, essentially. So one of the ways that has been manifesting for a lot of people has been clutter, okay, or having to recategorize your material objects. I've recently moved this year, and that's been so crazy to me to feel like a minimalist, and then have to like go through everything and still see like how much has to be gone through and how much has to be purged out, what's being kept. It's been very overwhelming. And I talked a little bit about that in the Pluto and Aquarius video that I made back in November. If you want to check out that video, I talked about minimalism and, how we're dealing with excess material stuff right now. And basically I understood that a lot of us are kind of like transcending out of that kind of materialist energy. That was so strong over the last few years because we had that Capricorn triple conjunction. We had Uranus and Jupiter in Taurus, okay? But we're more so in like air trines now. And I'm not going to spoil anything from the 2025 year aheads, but I'll just tell you guys, there's more of like a featherweight feeling. There's more lightness, there's more mobility. So I feel that we're adapting to that here. And it's hard for some people because they have to come face to face with what they chose, okay? They have to come face to face in some cases with unconscious acquisitions, unconscious spending, unconscious path work, okay? And we're going to have to really adapt into a phase where we can straighten this out a little bit and bring sense and meaning to these smaller level choices that we're making. So the addictions are going, the impulsive behavior is going, and there's going to be a much lighter tone that we move forward from here with. There are a lot of hangups, okay? This is why these types of kind of confusing realities where we start, just hoarding or gathering things we don't need, or we start, getting stuck at the crossroads and not going one way or another because we don't trust in our own decision-making process. A lot of the time we get hung up And we start focusing all of our energy into small things that don't matter. Like, okay, now I need all these different credit cards, or okay, now I need to like spend all this time thinking about what I do already have, and, not thinking about the main story of my life, or not thinking about these important or more important decisions. Okay. So definitely check in with yourself. If you're having anything like that, try to simplify things more. Try to not keep expanding in unnecessary areas, as it's kind of a coping mechanism. It's kind of an unconscious impulse. Like, okay, I can't expand, or I'm not going to let myself expand where it really matters. But where it's safe and normalized and, not that consequential, I'm just going to expand and expand and expand. Like some people might buy too much clothing, or they might go crazy with some kind of investment that they don't need to do, something tangential. It's like a tangent of expansion, not, putting that energy where it really deserves to go, which is on that meaningful path, which is why adaptability and flexibility are the main key words, I think, during this December and January time period. So adaptability, thinking about it even more for a minute here, it feels like something that requires more time. It feels like something that requires a lighter touch. It feels like something that requires health and self-confidence. Okay? Like, I don't need to spend hours thinking about that small issue. I can just correct that right now without overthinking it. That feels like adaptability to me. Adaptability also feels like awareness. It feels like awareness of what the current environment is. Okay, it's too cold out here. I can't wear a tank top. I've got to put a jacket on. I'm not going to overthink that. I just have the jacket on because I'm aware that it's cold here. So that sounds very kind of simple, but it's sort of evocative of what adaptability means. We have to be able to quickly understand what the environment is. We've got to understand also what effects that environment causes. Okay, it's cold outside. That means it's going to make me cold. So I need a jacket. I need to put that on. Okay. Adaptability also feels fresh. It feels like something that is not as customary. It feels like something, essentially, that by default cannot be so secure. Okay. Because things that are secure and stable are kind of unadaptable by definition. So we have a lot of people kind of caught between this want for security and want for stability, and also a want for flexibility and adaptability. So sometimes we have to check in with our age. We have to check in with, again, the physical environment that we're in and the choices we've made, the obligations that we have. And in some cases, those have to be adapted here too. And for most people, they do actually. And one of the things that I feel kind of is sad about this period of time that we're in is a lot of people want a change. They want something fresher. They want something different. But they're a little bit scared of being in that inherent state of insecurity. Yet at the same time, there's a tediousness to whatever stability it is that they currently have. So the result of that becomes this kind of like flux. Okay, it becomes this kind of like mini stability that is kind of bloated with a lot of objects or elements or components that kind of aren't really necessary, that then have to be kind of like refiltered or reorganized or redone. And then it's almost like there's a craving to not even be in that place. Okay, so we don't want that. That's what we don't want. It's a quite prevalent place, especially if you have this current Jupiter-Mercury opposition that we're having in Gemini and Sagittarius aspecting your chart at all. It feels like people who are having that as a transit have kind of like come to a place where there's a realization like, I can't be everybody for everybody. I have to sometimes choose paths more precisely. I have to sometimes really focus in on my own development or on my own health rather than everyone else's problems. Okay, so there's this sort of like, I'm not going to call it necessarily a narrowing of focus, but that might be the perfect way to think about it, where, maybe we're too much of an empire right now. Maybe we have too many things going on and there's a sloppiness to everything. And now we need to like make things a little bit more precise. Or maybe we just need to, lean into our youth in a way and actually live life and learn new things by perhaps being in fresher territories, areas, or karmas. Now, this is where things actually get inspiring and very new feeling during this time because, you really feel it. If you're still kind of like connected to something too familiar, if you're going in some type of unnecessary or damaging perpetual loop. Like, it's so physical here to the point where it's like almost not doable anymore. So rather than getting freaked out about like, oh no, I can't fulfill a perpetual loop that was really dense feeling to me, rather than making that an ego collapse, or rather than making that some type of failure narrative, okay, I would enjoy the idea of adapting things to where they actually work. So this is not about throwing the baby out with the bathwater. This is not about quitting things. This is not about saying, okay, my entire life is effed up, okay, because I'm in some kind of dense loop, so I'm just gonna send everything off with the light of the match. You know, this is not it, okay? What is it is very precisely trimming things up, you know, kind of like the king or the queen of swords, okay? It's not about destroying things. It's not about quitting things. It's not about ending pathways, or they would have already done it themselves here, or will do it very soon, because that's sort of, I think that sort of macro universe level canceling out is very much already been happening and been in effect with that sort of dissolution of matrices message that was coming up with the Jupiter-Mercury transit we're having right now, and the general ending times we've been in, right, with like Pluto at the anaretic degree over the last 2 or so years. You know, a lot of things that had to finish already ended, already got done with. So like, don't get too destructive with this, but rather let things that just aren't working kind of complete naturally on their own cycle, and things that are still working, things that provide really nice mutual reciprocity, but are maybe really hard, okay, at the same time. Try to find a way where both sides are maintained and there's a freshness put onto it, or there's another part of your life that is just more invigorating, added on by like your own, as like almost like a gift to yourself, or a gift not just to yourself, because this is not really a selfish thing. It's more of a devotion to life, or a devotion to light and the expansion of divinity, where we're actually allowing ourselves to live in ways that are obviously wonderful for ourselves to experience, but sort of expand beyond us as a greater choice in a certain collective vote for peace and for actual, you know, nice human experiences, not dark, deep, dense, you know, painful experiences. So yes, adaptability during this time is what it's going to take to really trim these things up properly. Pay attention to what's overgrown, what's overthought, what's been just embellished too much, and don't be afraid to kind of trim that up a little bit. Also, pay attention to what adaptability is what we've just talked about in the video. You know, things becoming fresher, things becoming more light and divine feeling, as compared to these stagnant, overburned, overthought, overkill situations, which are still here, but depleting and very obvious as to what they are now. Okay. So anyway, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this musing about adaptability. I just wanted to come on and talk briefly about it. I will be talking more about this in the 2025 content, but yes, I also wanted to remind you that this Friday, December 20th, is the 2025 Year Ahead Forecast Live premiere, talking for all signs, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Also, I'm doing giveaways for Patreon over there, but if you did want to get a 7-day free trial, those will still be available, I believe, through part of January, but that's a limited time offer, and I'm not going to be doing that in 2025 because I'm focusing more on content rather than promotions then. But so get these free trials while you still can, and I'll be reminding about those through January. And yes, hit the like button below if you enjoyed this video, share it, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much to all of you who have tuned into this video and made it this far. I hope to see you all soon with a really wonderful 2025 Year Ahead forecast. Much love. Bye.